Hi everybody, this is Professor Diffley. This is History 100. This is Chapter 1. This is Lecture Video 5 for Chapter 1. Again, this chapter is longer than some others. There are more lecture videos in this first chapter than in others. There's not usually this many. The reason is this is the first week of class usually, and students don't always get the book right at the beginning. So I include more, make the lecture videos a little bit more in depth when students, expecting that students might not have the book right away. Again, this is only for the first week, so if you don't have the book yet, as long as you're watching the videos, all the videos, anything like that, I provide the lecture slides, the notes, you'll be okay for Chapter 1. You do need the book in this course, but that's why there are more videos in these here. Okay, on to this. We left off last time talking about the first empires that rose out of Mesopotamia. And so what is next in the lecture slides is ancient Egypt, the second civilization in the West's first unified country. Now, as I said at the end of lecture video 4, I'm not going to go through all the slides here on Egypt. Go through them. There are lots of notes with them, but there's also an excellent crash course video on Egypt. Egyptian history is so long and so can be so complicated that they did a great job with really good visuals on condensing what you need to know about ancient Egypt, because part of the video is based off of part of your textbook and part of what I answer the slides there. So make sure you look at that. We're going to not really go through ancient Egypt. Big things to know here, though. Second civilization after Mesopotamia to rise, and it's a unified country. Remember, Mesopotamia had a bunch of different city-states all competing, independent throughout Mesopotamia, Samaria. Egypt will be one unified country. So make sure you go through the slides here, take a look at them on the the PowerPoint with, again, the notes. Make sure to look at those. And let me know if you have any questions about Egypt. But again, the slides, the book, and the videos cover everything. And the video is excellent on Egypt. So where we're going to go next is the Hittite civilization in Anatolia. So this is the third civilization to rise in the West. Remember, it goes Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, the Hittites, and then to the Greeks. Those are the four civilizations that rise first in this part of the world. And again, where is Anatolia? Anatolia is modern-day Turkey on a map, and I'll show you that here. It's is modern-day Turkey. So this is Anatolia, this body of land here. You can see it goes into parts of the Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent. This is an extraordinarily important area. That's part of why we actually don't know a ton about the Hittites, nearly as much as we do about the Greeks, the Egyptians, or the Assyrians. They're not as long-lasting. They will eventually be, fall. But this area is so strategically important then and now. Controls trade in the Eastern Mediterranean, is the actual land bridge link between Europe and Asia. Also is, it sort of connects all three of them. Three continents in this area, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And so many people are going to move through here that there's not as much left of them. And again, they didn't leave as long of records as others. But why are we looking at them? They are very important here in the sense that they're going to create one of the first peace treaty with Egypt here is one of the things you need to know there. But again, why? Because they're going to be fighting over trade in this area and control. The Hittites will eventually take over a good portion of Mesopotamia, but then they're going to bump into the Egyptians and they're going to fight in this area over here, this disputed area, with disastrous consequences. Essentially, what's going to happen is they're going to fight these epic battles. This is the Egyptian Battle of Kadesh, one of the largest battles of the ancient world. Largest chariot battle is what many historians argue of the ancient world. These two Hittites and the Egyptians are just going to beat up on each other and essentially come out as a draw. Now, and that's what their peace treaty will be about, right, is how to divide up the territory and the trade to avoid war because it was so costly. But in the end, it's going to hurt the Hittites a lot, the Egyptians as well. But the problem is when you and this is a recurring theme in this course, you're going to see this. You're going to have major powers fighting each other, just beating up on each other. They are going to get nowhere. They're going to weaken themselves, waste their resources, And they're going to get so weak that it's going to allow an upstart, some outside conqueror, outside power that's rising to come in and conquer them all. And that is partly what's going on here. The Hittites will fall in that. The Egyptians will weather the storm, but it will be, significant damage to Egypt. But everywhere else is going to be weakened by this. And again, here's their peace treaty. Here's the cause of the war. Hittites and the Egyptians, control major trade routes. And again, this peace treaty is because neither of them could win, and so international peace treaty between states, the first one ever, saying what each can do, what their rules will be with each other, how they'll treat each other to avoid war. And this is a depiction of the actual peace treaty that is carved in hieroglyphics on the in the Egyptian temple and public space, and there were others in the Hittite Empire as well. So let's move on to this other empire. So the Persian Empire and the Israelites. Let's just talk about them. So the Persian Empire isn't always considered part of the West, but it is a grand empire of the ancient world, and it is going to be heavily connected in conflict with the Greeks, who we're going to learn about in the next chapters. However, so let's talk about the Persians because they're incredibly influential and control significant portions of territory for a long time. And then we'll talk about the Israelites real quick. The Persian Empire is one of the greatest empires of the ancient world. It starts out here in the dark purple area in Persepolis, the capital, in Persia, and will expand into what is today Pakistan and India, all the way into Greece, North Africa, Egypt. Gonna take over all of Turkey, control gigantic swaths of land for a long time, and that is under Darius the First. Do they expand fully to these great lengths? There. The other thing is, so where is Persia today? Persia is modern day Iran, is where this is based. And that's the area we're starting with here. So the Persian Emperor, and you can see this is from the capital, Persepolis. Again, by 490 BCE, the greatest Near Eastern empire. How did it have this power and sustain its rule? Because it's pretty long lasting. Military power. One, they could just crush their enemies. Great warriors. A really good military machine. Had great logistics carrying information across the entire empire. They even had a postal service and a King's Road and things like that. So that's military power. But the other is relative cultural and religious tolerance. Now, what do we mean by that? You see other empires like the Assyrians crush everybody else, destroy their cultures, and move them around and really try to subjugate them in that sense. The Persians, as long as you were paying them their taxes and providing soldiers, which was part of your tax, they would pretty much let most religions and cultures be. Again, they didn't try to convert everybody to their ways. They would allow them to stand, and so they, that caters to the local people. It's really when you go after people's culture and religion, it's really hard to keep them on your side at that point. Again, you could see how big this empire was. It was overseen by local governors, satraps, who were usually relatives of the emperor to ensure loyalty there. Persian royal power and magnificent. Again, you cannot overstate how powerful and wealthy the Persian emperor was. Later, let's put it this way, the Persian emperors of later years, this is where the European kings are going to get their ideas on what a king should look like. The Roman emperors are going to view themselves as the masters of pretty much everyone in the world except the Persians. They actually referred Persian emperors and Roman emperors later will refer to each other as brothers. So that's how powerful they were. And even the Romans are going to copy some of the style of the Persians there. So extraordinarily wealthy. They're absolute autocrats. They claim divine right that God wanted them there. Some emperors will even claim they're divine themselves. But autocrat here is their word goes. It's like a dictator, right? Their word goes and that's it. So again, they did have some tolerance, but also shocking brutality when needed to be, right? Any serious crimes were committed and were punished brutally. So what they would usually do is mutilate the body of the offender, right, of the criminal there, and then execute the criminal's family, right, as a symbol to everybody else, and mutilate them, cut off noses, ears, hands, that thing, so everybody knows that that this person did something. They have to walk around like that, with this outward symbol that they were punished by the king, and their family would be murdered or executed along with them. Sends a powerful message, a brutal message, but a powerful message there. Again, extraordinarily wealthy. Again, where they copy throughout the world, the example of walking on red carpets. Everywhere the Persian emperor went, they would roll out a red carpet in front of him. We have that today, not only for political leaders, religious leaders in some areas, but even celebrities, that sort of thing. They had jeweled crowns, that diadems, that's what they were called, and others copied the crowns with the jewels in them. Purple robes, the color purple becomes the color of of royalty, all the way through the European kings, the Romans, all that. Why purple? Very hard dye to get. Actually comes from sea slugs. Very difficult to get, very, very hard to produce back then, at least the color purple back then. And so purple robes become the color of the emperor. They'd sit on raised thrones. Oftentimes they put silk screens between them, or silk pieces of silk between them and their, the people coming to see them, their followers, the courtiers, again, to give the idea of the king is so powerful, you don't look upon him, that sort of thing. But also took care of a huge welfare state, and, provide 15,000 nobles with meals every day at the emperor's palace, is how they would do this. So again, extraordinarily wealthy. These are the only emperors you need to know. Cyrus founded the Persian Empire. He's the one that creates the idea of building on military strength and then cultural tolerance, to a degree. And Darius is the one who's going to expand it to its greatest size. And these are the two you need to know there for this. Persian religion, Zoroastrians, and Zoroastrianism. There are a couple of videos on this. Watch those. They're really good. This is called Zoroastrianism. This is a religion that still exists today. Let's put it this way. It's you can find them in parts of Asia, even in the United States, England. If you know, you ever heard the rock band Queen? They just did that movie on Freddie Mercury a couple of years ago. But his family was Zoroastrian there, and so this is still a religion that is around. It's one of the oldest religions. It was created. We know it by the name Zarathustra, who is an ancient priest who wrote the most on the religion. They had, it's similar in some ways, where it seemed to be a chief deity and then a foil to him. So you had Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom, the main Persian god, the god of good and light and wisdom, right? So when you're enlightened, that sort of thing. And then you had a fallen sort of angel, fallen power, Ahriman, sort of like Satan, a devil-like figure in Western tradition there. And the belief that, you actually, and this is moral dualism, this concept that the world, there's an ongoing battle between good and evil, divine force of good and evil, and that one day there will be a reckoning, and that what you do in this world matters, right? So which side do you take in this, right? If you take the side of good, then you will be, and do good, you will be rewarded as such. But again, look at the videos. They're pretty short. One is actually from a professor of religion who is actually a Zoroastrian and will tell you what the religion is about. Really interesting stuff. And some more going ahead. So that is the what you need to know about the Persians. Again, there's videos on there. Make sure the required videos. Israelites, what you need to know there is they created monotheism in the sense of this is the oldest in the Western tradition. Judaism, Christianity, Islam all come from this. Here's just some information and background on them. Their real contribution for what we need to know. There are courses on world religion. You can deal with those. In other classes on that. Israelites, even though they never become a powerful kingdom or a monarch empire, their greatest influence is creating monotheism. Again, the first true monotheistic religion and the origins of Christianity and Islam with the Torah, the Ten Commandments. And you can see differences here with the Israelites. And this is, again, even the Israelites, which was monotheism, these are deities that Israelites, Judeans, actually used at the beginning of Judaism. So you see, again, there was a time where, even though it's monotheistic, some of the old ways still persisted there. And you could read more about this one in the book, this image and the discussion. Remember, you got to look at the images, the maps, all those side things there. All right, so we will finish off in a briefer video, lecture video 6 for the Greek precursor civilizations. All right, be back in a minute.